Apologize again for that disruption. I was just sharing with you how I spent the last 2 days working with one of the most prominent banks in the country in the microfinance space in training their teams on facility health and safety, facility audits, and fire, CPR, all kinds of HSE training that included a fire drill on the final day. So it was a very exciting experience for me. So as part of what we do in Max-Migold, we take training, customized training to organizations. We can train your team on facility management, energy efficiency, energy management, facility audit, asset management, maintenance of all, in all at all levels, both at the managers level, the technicians, and the support teams, cleaning and security teams. So we train on workplace productivity, leadership, communication, soft skills, and we have a whole series, more than 150 courses that you can choose from. And everyone in the workplace will benefit from participating in some of our training. So if you have a team, you want to boost productivity, you want to increase value for your organization, please reach out to us, send an email to training@maxmigold.com, copy paul.erubani@maxmigold.com, just so I'm in picture of the conversations as we engage with your organization and come up with a training solution that will meet your need. And this cuts across every professional within the work environment that you manage. So if you're a HR person or your HR person, talk with them and engage with us to bring a corporate training to your organization. We have a 2-day facility management operations high impact course coming up next week, 7th and 8th of November. And we already have the minimum number of people for this training. So we encourage you to take advantage of this 2 days training, just 245,000 to participate. You earn a certificate, you get trained by professionals, including myself, in the FM industry, and you increase your skills and your know-how. And the FM Mastercraft Diploma that starts on January 6th. Don't think of January 6th as something that's going to happen next year. Next year is not very far. We're already counting down, some 60-something days to this event. So what we've done is to provide you, a series of discount offers. Early bird discount, if you make your payments between September and October 31st, full payments, you enjoy your 30% discount. So you pay as little as 385,000 for the virtual instead of 550K, and 525,000 for the physical instead of 750,000. So that's a huge discount. During the month of November, which starts, in a few days' time, tomorrow actually, you'll enjoy 20% discount. You pay only 8% for the training starting on January 6th. And so that discount will run throughout November. In December, we're giving 10% discount. So the earlier you make your payment for the program, the earlier you can benefit from the discount. And please note that all these discounts and promo bonanzas that we're giving out are tied to payments in full. You can make a small part payment as commitment to lock down the discount. That's not available at all. You have to find the means, make the payment, and then enjoy that benefit. Okay. All right. Beyond that, of course, if you have a group, a team, corporates, professional body, you know, classmates, colleagues, in whatever setting. If you come in as a team of five, anytime you come in, you get 20% off. 10 and above, you get 50% off. We have those kind of offers. If you come in with your professional association and you can pull 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people into the FMR Sacrab diploma, your cost can drop to, substantial levels. You can pay as little as 30%, gaining almost 70% discount, off the program cost. Because at the end of the day, we want to get as many people as possible into the program. And so that's what drives the incentives that we offer. Okay. We announced that we're going to be discussing projects, the exceptional project manager. So this course is not going to be specifically about project management. It's going to be about, how you as an individual can be a good project manager. Okay, so the exceptional project manager is a course that helps you become a great project manager. So there's going to be some intersection between some of the skills that you need to have, the kind of personality you should have to be a good, an exceptional project manager. And some of those skills will lead us to talking about the things you need to do to succeed in project management. My screen sharing?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So we'll talk about, just introduce project management briefly. Because our own primary domain is facility management, we need to talk a little bit of how facility managers can excel in project management. What I try to teach everybody is project management itself is not a profession. It is a competence. It's a skill. It's a discipline that you can apply in virtually all professions. Okay, so whether you are a medical doctor or an accountant or an IT professional, just name it. Any domain that you gain expertise in, you can as well be a project manager. Share this. So in essence, if you are a facility manager, you need to become competent in project management. And this applies to virtually all professions. So whether you're a nurse, a doctor, an accountant, an IT person, a builder, an engineer, whatever field or professional domain you find yourself, you need to be to be good in that profession. You also need project management because there are two sides to all professions. There are the routine things we do, the operational activities and tasks that we do repeatedly. That we talk about continuous improvement, quality assurance, quality control in dealing with what we do on a day-to-day basis as we deliver value to our customers. But then every now and then, from the standpoint of strategy to how we want to make certain step improvement, not continuous or gradual improvement, we need to come up with ideas, innovations, to execute certain tasks that provide or produces certain deliverables within a certain time frame to meet a certain need for a growth opportunity, solving a problem, or taking advantage of an opportunity, right? So that's what gives birth to projects. So in essence, if you want to leapfrog, if you want to grow as an organization, as a department, as an individual, you need to, execute projects from time to time. So, what kind of skills do you need to be this exceptional project manager? So we'll talk a little bit about them, how to plan and schedule. Yeah, I mean, planning is not something you do in your head. It's something you have to take out of your head, put on the process documentation, review it to see that there are nothing missed out, and that they are feasible. The items you've identified are feasible. And besides, it's not something you can do strictly on your own. You have to have a team. It's very difficult to have a project that you say, oh, this project is going to deliver something significant and deliverable, but I am alone in it. There's usually some form of, interactions and mingling with people, other people to get your project going. So what skills do you need? The planning skill, the scheduling skill, resource allocation, budget management, risk management, quality control and quality assurance related activities, the tasks, stakeholder engagement and communication strategies. So we will talk through these. And I mean, there's quite a lot, but we had to find a way to pull together the most critical skills, personality. Okay, sorry about that third time disruption. It's my screen sharing now.
Yes, it is. Presentation overview.
Right. So what I've tried to do now is to have switch to another network and have both a LAN connection and a Wi-Fi connection. I hope I don't suffer this break anymore. Okay. So as part of the course objectives of this session, we want to talk about risk. Most projects fail because the things we experience as issues in the project should have been in the stage, but they were not. And then they come in as surprise us, and then we say, uh, wasn't our fault. Okay, so risk management is a critical aspect of becoming an exceptional project manager. You have to be good at identifying things that can go wrong and having your alternative arrangements to ensure that they don't come to frustrate you. Okay, so we talk about proactivity and risk management a lot in most of our engagement, but in terms of action, we do very little in this regard. Sometimes we take some actions because of recent negative occurrences, preemptively and proactively. But when it comes to risk management, we need to actually document what we are, what are your fears, document them and face them, plan for them. Okay. And then quality assurance, the kind of steps that need to put in place to ensure that what has been planned, what has been agreed to be done by the various, resources, vendors, individuals who put together in the project are actually being done. And that if there are any significant deviation from what has been planned or something that is not going to lead you to the expected end that you have scheduled or planned, there should be a mechanism for catching that. And that includes all variation. So if you ask me, what's the most important goal of a project manager is make sure that your project is executed, planned, executed, delivered with the least amount of variation. And it doesn't matter where the variation is coming from. The least amount of variation is the ultimate indicator of success of a project. And then to put all of this together, you need to have a good stakeholder engagement and collaboration skills. Projects, like I said, are done, with many people, not just one person. So you need to have uh, proper engagement, a good communication plan that helps you keep people engaged, connected, informed, and you also in turn receive the information that you need to make sure you can keep achieving what you set to achieve. So as a project manager, you need to have, uh, you know, these skills I've mentioned, be able to monitor and control, be able to communicate and collaborate with those you're working with, be able to deal with the issues of documentation. Many people are good in the field. They can figure out A to Z how to complete an entire project, but then they are very poor in documentation. When you ask them what's next, they know they can tell you what's next. But that is a recipe for failure. Reason being that if you don't document what you have, you don't have other people work on it together so you can plan together and pick out some of the things that you might have missed out, right? And things that you could be blindsided to. And so you end up pushing through only to come back to have the work. And especially situations where you did not carry the people along because they don't you've not documented, so you don't have all of the information laid out to share the vision of the end with everyone else involved in the project. So as a basic requirement, deploy or use the structured approach to project planning, executing, monitoring, and completing projects in facility management or in any domain. Now, when we say use structured approach, we are saying basically that you should use the tools, the elements, the structure already defined in the project management body of knowledge. Okay, so the Project Management Institute already released a series of guidelines, templates, tools for executing projects, which is called the Project Management Body of Knowledge, PMBOK. If you understand it, it has a series of processes. It has, so if you want to start a project, it tells you inception or definition of your project. There are certain things you must accomplish to define the project objective statements, the success criteria, and develop user requirements for your project. So you have to consult with those who are paying for the project and those who will use the project to agree with them what the main objective of the project is. Most projects fail when the key stakeholders have different ideas about what should happen. And as the project is ongoing, because it's not described in detail, written down in detail, and agreed to by all parties, you end up having different parties throwing in different types of spanners on the wheel. And before long, the project becomes bogged down by conflicting interests. So that's the first thing. Get the right tools to document everybody's, negotiate and agree what the project objective should be, right? And signed off. So we have tools like Project Charter, where the project idea is summarized, the high-level scope, budget, and the immediate project team that are going to be part of the project are documented. And the sponsor or whoever is the approving authority signs, and all the other parties sign to say, we understand the project, we are ready to run this project at this time. And that is some kind of form of notice to an agreement that we can now go on with the project, and then we'll now go into planning. And when we start planning, what are the tasks that need to be performed? First of all, we define the objectives, define the deliverables in each of those objectives, look at the work breakdown structure to create the tasks that need to be performed. And when you create the tasks that need to be performed, you use that work breakdown structure to develop your schedule after you've agreed on which task should happen first, which one depends on the order, and so on and so forth. You come up with your budget and costs, you come up with your resource planning, you come up with your communications plan, your risk management plan. All plans are now superimposed on your task list, which is your work breakdown structure. So let's talk about facility management and project management. If I take on a new facility today to manage, I need to execute certain projects almost immediately while running the operations of the facility at the same time. For example, If I don't have a detailed asset register document, I need to start a project immediately to collate the asset register, while at the same time running the operation. If I don't have a facility condition assessment document in place that tells me the condition of every component, equipment, or building part, I need to immediately do a condition assessment as a project, which means I get a group of auditors, specialists in different aspects of the built environment, coming to uh, look in, pick out all the defects, scope work that needs to be done to remediate or fix them, and so on and so forth, right? If there are no as-built drawings to give me information on the scope, the size, the dimensions in the facility, I need to initiate a project immediately to get draftsmen or architects or designers to come, measure and draw out the facility. There are so many things that I need to execute as a project, several different projects. Take, for example, you have you met an asset register and you don't have the assets are not being tracked. There's no tag, right, for monitoring how assets are moved from one point to the other, how they go through their life cycle to being moved out of use. I need to initiate a project to, tag all the assets, categorize them, and start monitoring how the assets are going through their life cycle. So you see, it's important that I not only just focus on the operation, because many people just resume a new project or a new site, and from day one, they are solving problems, they are fixing issues, they are directing the cleaners and the maintenance crews, looking into everything. But then important things that should be on ground are not on ground. Take maybe, for example, you came in and you have some vendors who are working for you and there's no clearly defined service level agreements. They're just working based on what they know how to do. There's no correlation or connection between what they're actually doing and the results of value you want to deliver to that client. You need to sit down with them and work on a service level agreement. So there are so many such. And then you could come in and you meet problems. You came in and all the roof is leaking, and they're thinking of all kinds of solutions. People have been putting this glue here and putting that patch here. What needs to be done? Bring in people who are experts, scope it, the project is done. The whole idea here is don't see those things that you do, one-off to produce a distinct value as part of your operations. They are not part of your operations. They are projects. And since they are projects, you need to take a look at project management tools, techniques, processes, whatever concept in project management, to design how they are executed, to document how they will be executed, to track how the jobs are being done, and to report on the performance of that project at the end of the day. Okay, so you would have that dual responsibility. Sometimes things are mild, things are light, it's just operations you are working on. You don't have any project at hand. At those kind of times, that's when you start doing proactive strategic work, looking ahead, planning future capex, planning budgets, planning strategies to revise and revamp your contracts, structures, and so on and so forth. You can be doing that, but when there was something is approved for you to do as a project, you now have to do your normal operations and also execute that project. Now, you may be able to execute most of your projects by yourself as doubling as a project manager, but in some instances, you will need to use third-party consultants as project managers, or even the project manager of the nominated contractor should be directly responsible for the project and report to you. All projects in your facility are you are accountable for them, even if you delegate to a contractor to be project manager for you. And so all Yeah. So planning is that normal scheduling, uh, deciding who will do what, when things will be done, how much will be spent, which task needs to be done. That's your normal planning. Then risk management is an advanced plan that takes your normal plan and creates another plan for abnormalities, for eventualities, for uncertainties. And the first thing is, I know what would happen when everything works normally, but if it happens, how will it affect this and that in my normal plan? And as I map out that scenario, I ask myself, how should I respond? That's the whole idea of risk management. And then, of course, the two other key skills are budgeting. All projects are constrained by scope, constrained by cost or budgets, and constrained by time, right? And there's usually this continuous analysis and balancing act on how uh, adjustments to one out of these three would affect the other. So if you have a lot of time in your hands to execute a project, you might as well, plan to uh, build a refinery over the next 20 years, uh, extract uh, products and make the plastic you will need for your projects, right? That's like, how long will it take? But if you have just a month to deliver on the project that requires a lot of plastic inclusion, you just go ahead and buy the plastic, which, you're putting some money to getting it quickly. So in essence, balancing that scope, schedule, and cost is a key skill that you must have. And then most projects will require skills and expertise of different professionals, individuals. And you don't always expect that people are just going to be available. The right kind of people with the right skill and the right mindset will always be available for your project. You need to, think about how you can engage them, recruit them, contract with them, schedule them to work, track their performance and report on the value you are getting from the work they are doing. You need to have leadership skills because projects are done with people. Human beings are very complicated. If you don't know how to inspire and motivate team members, setting clear vision and guiding the project with confidence and integrity, the project is bound to fail. And when it does fail, there will be nobody to hold responsibility. Just be you facing reality because you didn't connect with the people, you didn't share the clear vision, you didn't get their buy-in into what they're doing. You think you can figure it all out. You can't be a project manager if you think you can figure everything out. And closely tied to leadership, setting the vision is communication because people need to know what is happening in your mind, what you have as your vision. They need to know, and then you need to have a way to convince them to buy into it. And then it becomes internalized in them, and then they can act in ways that help the project to succeed. This applies not just to those that work under you, but it applies to all stakeholders. It applies to everyone in the in the entire value chain you're engaging with. Project managers need to have quick decision-making ability, assess situations, weigh risk and benefits, and make informed decisions. So that's what we call deciding quickly after doing your analysis of the risk tied to all options. Not making decision is the worst thing than making a bad decision, right? So, but we say make sure that all decisions have some form of analysis, some look at the objective of why you are doing what you are doing, look at the various options, do cost benefit analysis of each of them, as well as the risk associated with each of them, and make a decision as quickly as possible. You must also be adaptable. Unexpected changes can occur. Are you resilient enough? Are you going to throw your hands in the air and say, I've been defeated, this can't go on? And then because projects work with people, you would observe that not everybody will work together or gel or blend from day one. There will be conflicts. You can't ignore conflict. You can't say, oh, it's their personal problem. Your project will suffer while the conflict is raging. So you need to, step in, understand what's going on within the team, and take action. So if I were to execute a project, the first thing that comes to my mind is why do I even want to execute this project? So why is a very superior, is a very high level of analysis. So if you understand the organization, then you understand what the organization's strategic objectives are. Every project you propose or try to initiate must have a connection to a strategic objective that the organization wants to achieve. And if you have the approval, in fact, before you have the approval, you need to also have a way of prioritizing how the tasks that you're going to act on or implement in the project will lead to the deliverable that is going to lead to that objective. So there's a connection between what we will do day to day and the deliverable that this project is going to produce, and a connection between that deliverable and something in the strategic objectives of the organization before you even get a buy-in from top management or senior management, as well as while the project is ongoing. That mapping of the tasks to the deliverables to the strategic objective of the organization is what's going to keep you focused when variations and all kinds of inconveniences start popping up during the execution of the project. And then I've talked about the WBS, the work breakdown structure being the key. Every project requires you to do a work breakdown structure. Some projects require you to have a design, what is and what is to be, two different versions of design, right? And then most projects require you to have engagement with the sponsor or whoever is championing the project, as well as engagement with the users at the front end. You want to gather requirements. It is this requirement that helps you to define the deliverable. And then you break down deliverables into the tasks that are going to make that those deliverables. Then for each task, money is going to be spent. Human beings are going to do the work, resources, other tools are going to be deployed. You take it task by task to build up how your project plan is going to go. So sometimes scheduling the projects, just managing the what needs to happen first can be a bit tricky. We are wired to think in a linear way. So the mind is typically waterfall approach. If you finish this, you will start this. If you finish B, you will start C, right? But if we take all the tasks that need to be performed in the project and put them in that linear array, the project will take such a long time. So you need to start asking yourself, what can be done concurrently? What must be done before the other, right? If there is no linkage between two tasks, can they be done at the same time, right? Now, there are also issues with lead times. Because the project requires humans to work, when will they be available? Project requires materials and certain equipment and supplies. Are they off the shelf? Are they available now that if I order today, I get them today? Or are they things I need to order ahead of time? So it's a whole complex approach to understanding how the project will start and finish. So instead of bugging your brain with all of this, then use tools. Many of us, when we started, we create project schedule on Excel, right? We find a way to. It's a bit complex, more hard, it's manual. But if you use tool like Microsoft Projects, IBM's tools like Primavera and other tools that are available, even the modern Kanban type project management tools where you can create all the tasks and just move them, around to create a network, a visual feel of how the tasks are going to be performed. Or even if you are the type that writes tasks on post-it notes and start shuffling them around on a notice board, to see the order of how things will be done with all eyes on it to give you clarity. Bottom line is sequence, define the duration, schedule the resources and materials that will go into it, and ensure that you have clarity before you start. Don't start something that you get back into reviewing or revising. Okay? So, and the basis for all of this is the work breakdown structure. There will be problems in every project. Complex issues will arise that require you to put on your thinking hats, that require you to consult with people, that will require you to investigate solutions beyond what you thought you knew before you started the project. So use critical thinking to assess project needs and align resources effectively, right? And then when challenges, arise, learn to balance risk and benefits to make choices that support both project goals and your stakeholder satisfaction. One of the most difficult tasks that you perform when it comes to risk management is identifying risk. Many of us are wired to think positively, culturally disposition to believe that things will work well for us because we are afraid and so on and so forth. But what this is saying is that try to think outside the box. Think about things that can actually go wrong. And for every weird or such considerations of things that can go wrong, think about how you can objectively analyze it using quantitative methods, like identifying designating a certain rating for likelihood and impact. Likelihood is also probability, and impact is also severity, right? If you're working with a scale, 1 to 9, 1 to 7, 1 to 5, assign, when you pick up a certain risk item, assign a probability or likelihood severity or impact number according to a grid. And then once you've done for the two, likelihood and impact, the risk is a multiplication of those two numbers. So you now have a risk value. You've assessed the risk, you've given it a value by multiplying likelihood and impact. And you can now rank all the risk items so that you will know those that are high risk, those that are low risk. Something with a very severe impact and a negligible probability. By the time you multiply them, it gives you a very small risk that you don't need to rack your brains or form teams to analyze how it will be resolved or improved upon or mitigated, right? So when it comes to assessing risk, don't hear something like, oh, what's the risk that the plane will crash? Oh, everybody will die. It's very, very, it sounds very, very gory and fatality is involved. So your mind goes way up. That's a very high risk. But that's just considering one side of the risk assessment for that risk item, which is the severity or impact. But hold on, that's not all about risk. What about the probability or likelihood? How many plane crashes have we had around this area in the last 100 years? 0, 0, 0. That never happened. Or maybe one in the whole of the wider region in the last 30 years, right? So honestly, even if the impact or severity is 10 over 10, by the time I multiply the probability and the impact or likelihood versus impact, I get a risk of 1 times 10, which is 10, out of a total possibility of 10 times 10, which is 100. So if I have a risk item that is 10 over 100, is that a high risk? Is that a medium risk? Is that a low risk? Automatically, it's a low risk. So even though I listed it as a risk item, a potential risk, I don't need to do much about it. I can just, ignore that because it's below the risk threshold of my planning. There are some risks that will be very, very high. Probability is high, severity is high. When I multiply them, I get something in the 75th, 90th, percentile of the risk threshold or risk assessment. For those kind of risks, I begin to ask myself, which kind of strategy should I deploy? I will most likely consider avoiding that task, finding another task to replace that kind of task in my project. If I don't even abandon the entire project when some risks are too high. So avoidance is one strategy. The next one is prevention, right? When I want to prevent a certain risk item, I want to carry out the activity, but I want to shield myself completely from that risk, right? And if I'm doing that, I'm making sure that that risk does not impact my project. And then there's a third strategy, which is mitigation. This one is for medium risk, where the risk can come, but when it hits, I will have a measure to something that I'll put in place to reduce how it affects me. So if I have buffers, if I have backups, redundancies, I can allow something to happen, knowing fully well that I have some spare change to cover up. That's mitigation, right? And then that fourth one will be I could decide for some risk that it's not worth it for me to stand the risk. I can outsource the risk through contracting, through insurance, like the bonds. If there's a likely risk of the contractor failing or disappointing after you've given them advance payment, for example, you can use an advance payment guarantee or a bond to, outsource that risk to an insurance company or a bank, which works. And then that last one, which I mentioned before, is just accept the risk and, don't have any plan, just move on because the risk is really insignificant. So depending on the level of the risk, you decide how you're going to plan for it. Okay. So those are the risk assessment approaches. And I'm going to just stop, at this point in today's session. I would continue with this project management, exceptional project manager next week, where we'll talk about resource allocation, budgeting. We'll talk about, how to track and monitor projects, how to ensure that stakeholders are carried along, communication is implemented, and so on and so forth in our next week session. So we're going to have a part 2 of the exceptional project manager in the launch hour for coming up next week Thursday. So stay tuned. If you have questions, I would like to hear them now. I see there's a lot of interest in the training materials I use for the launch hour, which we don't use to share, but I would will make consideration. So we will send out a kind of a survey to just pick people's opinion on if you want to be receiving this material. And then when we start doing our newsletters, you will be able to get them. So in the meantime, what you can do is follow us on YouTube, in our YouTube channel right now. Make sure that you are one of the subscribers. Go to LinkedIn and also, subscribe as a follower to Max-Migold on LinkedIn as well as Facebook. We will not be picking up emails from inside this chat because we have a very large following and CRM that we pick from all those that engage with us on all platforms. So if you're in one of those, then yes, we will definitely get through to you by email, and then you will be able to get some of these materials as we go on. Don't forget that everything we talk about during the launch hour session, we have them online. We have the facility management courses.com that has more than 150 modules that you can just go there, you sort through whatever gap you have in workplace productivity, leadership, soft skills, pay for it. It's online. It's something you can pay for 20K, 25K, and then you go through the course, you download the content, you do the little assessment that goes with it, and then you get a certificate. Just download your certificates online from inside the facility management courses.com. So feel free to share that link, that facility management courses.com with your friends. And it's not just facility management courses that are there. Every kind of course from accounting to workplace desktop in Microsoft to facility management to project management to all the soft skills, leadership, communication, and the rest. Pick up anything that you want to study, any certificate from it. And Max-Migold certificate right now is respected by employers, across the country. So it's something you can pick up for very little amount. Are we having the link to join? You can join us on our WhatsApp group, the facility management WhatsApp group. I think the link is there on WhatsApp. We have the Telegram group as well, Max-Migold facility management business and training group, you know, and stay connected. And if you want to if you want to chat directly with me, let me put my number here, 08022020122. So you can chat with me on WhatsApp on this number, no calls. It's important that I get to know you. I can save your details on the phone and respond to you in chat. And if you connect with me on LinkedIn as well, I respond to most of the messages I get on LinkedIn. So just search for Paul Erubami, very unique profile. You can connect with me there and accept all connections. Okay, so that's all we're going to have for today. I'll come back to continue this again with you next week, Thursday. Until then, have a good rest of the week. Bye.